The girl was very cold and could not move. She heard a strange sound. She opened her eyes and saw a stranger in front of her, with very beautiful eyes. But why was he crying? She thought to herself. It was so warm. The girl opened her eyes and got up on the bed. "Your Majesty, are you awake?" A servant came running to the girl. "Your Majesty, are they talking about me?" The girl did not understand who they were talking to. When she looked around, there were more questions. Where am I? Who the hell am I? So in bed she spent several days. All the while she was carefully fed and cared for. Every day she took a bitter medicine. After talking to people, she realized that she was in the adult-only novel world of the Beast and the Young Lady. It's a romantic fantasy about a fairy tale beauty and a monster, a prince named Blake who was cursed, and about Richard, a wild man who fought desperately for Diana's love. The protagonist. She also ended up in the body of a heroine named Ansia, who was Diana's half-sister. Ansia had married the Crown Prince Blake as a child and became the Crown Princess, but she was shocked when she saw his face. On the day of their wedding, she jumped into the lake in an attempt to kill herself. The incident really shook Blake, who thought he was a monster and closed his heart to everyone. Having been rejected by Diana, the darkness consumed him more and more until he was mired in misery. The girl recalled all the events in the novella. According to her, when Ansia tries to drown, Blake tries to find her. But since she was in her body, that means she's not dead. She realized that the guy with the tears in his eyes was Blake. If he hated her, he wouldn't cry so bitterly and worry so much. The girl thought it must be very hard for him right now. The bride had committed suicide when she saw his face and told you that it frightened her. It would be strange if he wasn't worried after that. The girl got out of bed and told the maid that she wanted to see the prince's crown and asked him to take her to him. The maid warned the girl to be careful, because the prince was very shocked by what had happened and was not himself. Ansia had already made up her mind. She went to the prince's crony. On the way, she reflected that she had no intention of leaving Blake. In fact, he was her favorite character of the novel. Diana chose Richard, but now I can change Blake's bleak childhood. She couldn't pass up such a chance. Besides, the girl remembered that Ansia had simply nowhere else to go. She was the daughter of the Earl of Belation by his first wife. Her mother had died in childbirth. Later, the Count found a new wife who gave birth to his second child, Diana. After that, Ansia became nothing but a nuisance to the Earl and his new wife. Knowing that the Crown Prince was cursed and would not live long, he gave Ansia to him as his wife. Ansia decided to die not only because of Blake's ugly appearance. She was pressed by despair at the betrayal of her family. In any case, even if I leave here, I have nowhere to go. The girl pondered as she stood at the entrance to the prince's chambers. Nor did she want to leave him in despair. The girl mustered her courage, opened the door, and took a step forward. "Your Highness, it's me." "Don't come any closer," Rude said the prince, who was sitting wrapped up with his head in a blanket. The girl timidly tried to come closer, but the prince shouted at her again. "Stay away from me. I'm a freak, so stay away from me." The girl realized that he didn't hate her, but that he was just afraid she would be disgusted. She walked briskly toward the prince and tugged the blanket off him. He was startled by the action and froze in surprise for a moment as he looked at her. "What the hell are you doing?" He hid his face in the pillow again and mumbled that she had taken his blanket without permission. The girl looked at him and did not understand. He is the main character in a novella for adults. Where had that gloomy Blake gone? The boy in front of her looked more like an innocent white rabbit. There was still a misunderstanding to be resolved. "I had something to tell you, Your Majesty," said the girl, sitting down next to the prince. With a sharp movement, she pulled the mask off his face. "What are you doing? Don't look." The prince became angry. He was angry that she could see the traces of a curse on his face. But she looked at him tenderly and said that she had never seen anyone as beautiful as he was. She gazed at him and caressed his face with her hands. She thought that the prince must not be very comfortable living with it. His left side was covered with the dark marks of a curse, big red eyes. He may be a boy, but he had a fine nose, lips, and chin. He was very handsome. The girl knew from the novella that his curse would break when the prince met Diana. "But you hate me." The boy forcefully pushed the girl's hands away. She tried to change his mind, saying it wasn't like that at all. She didn't try to put her hands on herself. She accidentally fell into the lake. Ansia had tried to cut her life short when she saw Blake's face. But the girl decided to pretend it was all an accident. She owned her body now, and since it was her, it meant she hadn't jumped into the lake on purpose. Hadn't she? The prince asked hopefully. Yes, Ansei answered and expressed her gratitude that he had saved her when she was drowning. Tears flowed from the boy's eyes. He thought she had done it because of him and thought she would not like that he had disturbed her and she would hate him. So that's what he thought all those 5 days while I was in bed. Suddenly the girl realized. She hugged him gently to reassure him and told him not to worry about it and that she really liked him. I like you too, the prince timidly replied. You're such a liar, Ansei thought. She knew from the novel that he liked her younger sister Diana. The emperor knew he liked her. He begged the count to marry them. But the count sent a consent from Ansei and a refusal from Diana. Can we sleep together tonight? Suddenly the girl asked the prince. He was amazed and frightened. Even opened his mouth in surprise. If he is the main character, why does he react like that? Did I say something wrong? The girl didn't understand. Countess Belasian possessed the magic of light. Diana had inherited it. She would be able to lift the curse on him. Ansei, too, is a member of the Belasian family. Even if she wasn't as successful at magic, she should have inherited it too. Blake's curse was not limited to the mark. It spread throughout her body and inflicted endless pain. A pain that was accompanied by a chill in his body. Physical contact was necessary to use the Belasian family's light magic. This novella was marked +19, which meant that it was possible to do more than just touch. The girl pondered how to help the unhappy boy. But she knew that at such a young age it was impossible. So we will just hold hands, decided the girl. The expression on his face said she had done something wrong. She decided to ask, and with a good-natured smile she said, What's wrong? We're married now. It's all right to sleep together. But the prince was embarrassed and burned with shame, his face again in the pillow. Where is my wild Blake from the original? The girl laughed in her thoughts. This Blake was more like a cute red-eyed rabbit. She thought back to the novel and didn't understand how this 10-year-old rabbit could turn into a wolf-like animal. Human adulthood is full of mysteries and riddles. In any case, I can't leave him like that. The girl got serious. She abruptly snatched the pillow from the prince's hands and took him by the arms. Now we are a couple. From now on, we must sleep together every day. Every day? He asked the embarrassed boy a little too audibly. He was amazed at his young wife's insistence. Do you like it? Is it comfortable? Ansei asked, not letting go of his hand. At this moment, she wondered if the prince felt the effects of light magic on his fingertips. Since everything was happening as in the novel, she wanted to help Blake live a happy life. The girl was obsessed with the novella. She wanted to help a little prince who had to live in torment, but he did not notice her power. It was out of her power, and the girl let go suddenly of his arms and turned away. The prince rushed frightenedly after her, and again, all in tears, began to ask her not to go away. I'm not going anywhere. The girl answered, smiling. She just wanted to tuck the blanket in. Wouldn't you be disgusted if you slept with such a monster? Suddenly the boy asked. Aaliyah became angry and told him not to talk about himself like that anymore. You are not a monster, I assure you. She took the sad prince by the arms again. She began to reassure him that his curse would soon be lifted. As soon as he was 18 years old, it would fall completely, and he would live a fabulous life. She asked him not to give up and to ignore what other people around him were saying. The Belasian family inherited the magic of light, while the imperial family passed on the curse. Philip, the founder of the empire, had a relationship with the goddess of light. The goddess gave her powers to her lover, and he used them to found an empire. Soon the emperor betrayed the goddess and fell in love with another woman. Upon learning this, the goddess was furious. She put a curse on Philip. It covers the face and body of any hair and will always be with him until death. And they all died before reaching adulthood. The night he turns 18, he will plunge into the very depths of the abyss. Once he meets Diana, his curse will be lifted. The girl swore on her life that the curse would not be with him forever. You can't die. Even if I die, please live. The frightened prince began to cry again. My husband turns out to be a crier. The girl laughed and wiped away his tears. They lay next to each other and held hands, and so they fell asleep. In the morning, the girl woke up first. They slept like that all night, holding each other's hands. What a sweetheart he is, she thought, rubbing his hair. He opened his eyes and smiled sweetly at first, then began to laugh. "I just like you," he said, and added that he was very grateful for her support. At that moment, Ansia realized that she really wanted the prince to laugh more and rejoice. She ended up staying with Blake for several days. The girl noticed that he never left his room, only when absolutely necessary, eating meals, reading books. Everything took place in his room, and when they ate together every day she noticed a strange detail. Today too, vegetables, vegetables, vegetables. There were only vegetables for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Too many greens? Is he really a rabbit? And the dishes were always the same. Exactly the same soup was served yesterday. When the girl asked the prince what he liked best, he thought a moment and answered, "Everything." He was not picky, but he was not a fan of vegetables only. He liked meat and fish too. Did they give him only greens because he was cursed? That was the only reason she could think of. Besides, the prince was still too young to cross them. So they considered such treatment to be the order of the day. The responsibility for the crown prince's palace lay with the eldest son of the Hamill family, Melissa. The girl called the maid and asked that the head butler be called to her room after dinner. She wanted to check something. Suddenly the prince took her hand and said he felt better when he held them. Ansia was very glad to hear this. She realized that Blake did feel better when he touched her. It meant that there was a bit of light magic in her too. After dinner, the prince went to rest, and the head butler arrived at the girl's room. The eldest son of the Hamill family. He never came to visit her while she was ill. Even if he becomes the head of his noble family in the future, he should not forget that she is still a princess. "Don't you think the prince's diet is too meager?" asked the girl. He arrogantly replied that he thought the reason for his summoning was more important. These words angered Ansia. The heir to the empire's health is not an important reason. Losing possession, she asked. The heir to the empire? He smirked and added that she was new here and didn't understand much. Besides, the resources that are allocated too little, and he does what he can. Ansia noticed that he swallowed his saliva when he lied. The funds for the prince were not enough, but not so little that they would not add meat at all. It was clear to her. "I think you are too young to understand my words," he finished scornfully. "I'm firing you," the princess said in cold blood. The chief butler was stunned and could not find the words to express his indignation. Then the girl turned to the guard. "Put the butler in prison for embezzling the crown prince's funds and refusing to confess his crime." When the butler heard these words, he was out of his mind with rage. He began to grow loudly indignant, threatening, and even insulting the princess. Once the chief butler was imprisoned, the other servants were frightened. The atmosphere in the palace became very tense, but instead of resolving the situation, she immediately fired many people. The list was huge. In fact, when Blake was chosen second in command, many servants betrayed him and sided with Richard, the protagonist. There should be no traitors beside the prince, decided Ansia. Everyone on that list must disappear from the palace. Everyone who betrayed him in the novella must disappear. After that, the palace became very empty. Melissa worried that now there were not even any cooks to cook for the prince. But the princess said she would now cook for him herself. As she explored the palace, she found something. Ansia told her to follow her. The girl led the girl to a warehouse. There they found many foods and spices from distant lands. When added to food, they made the flavor richer and richer. The maid had heard that so many products from various countries had been purchased, but she could not have imagined that they would be stored like this. Well, where to begin? Ansia rolled up her sleeves and began cooking. When she finished, Melissa couldn't believe her eyes. Was she a culinary genius? Now all that was left was to feed the crown prince. He was very surprised when he saw the oriental dishes that his wife had prepared especially for him. He was thrilled when he found out that she had prepared it all herself. The only problem was that he didn't even know how to eat them, and it was the first time he had seen them in his eyes. The girl helped him. She named each dish and gave him a taste. With each new dish, the prince got more and more delicious. It was the best thing he had ever eaten. The girl was very happy that he liked everything. She seemed more pleased as a child than as his wife, but even so, she was very happy now. If Blake wanted to get rid of the curse, he would have to fall in love with Diana. As for her, since Blake would be happy, she would just always be there for him. Most importantly, everything had to be done before he came of age. The girl wanted to save him, but she didn't have the power to break the curse, which meant that until he met Diana, she would keep him safe. She'll act just like she did in the novel. There were 3 things that were going to happen in his childhood. 1. He inherited a curse. The second was Ansia trying to commit suicide on the first day of their marriage. And the last, what awaits him? The death of his father, Emperor Tension. When the emperor dies, Blake's uncle, Richard's father, the Earl of Castle, will become the new emperor. He will take the throne from the cursed, helpless boy. Blake will be sent to a southern island and have a sad childhood. Blake, who has inherited the curse, will know all this torment before he is rid of it. But his father isn't dead yet, so there's still time. If I want to, I can help him, the girl pondered at dinner. After their wedding, the emperor left the prince's palace. All that remained was to wait for his return. The next day, Ansia thought back to last night's dinner. She was very happy that the prince enjoyed her meal. Although she wouldn't say it was very good, she was already contemplating how and what to make next time. That it would turn out even tastier, she would need a roaster. Suddenly she realized. It could be made this time. If she could draw a sketch of it and give it to the blacksmith, he would have no problem making it for her. First, she had to find a blacksmith. Squatting down, she began to think through the details. "What are you doing?" Suddenly an unfamiliar voice sounded. The girl turned around frightened to see him. "I'm sorry. I didn't think I would scare you." The boy held out his hand. Black bushy eyebrows, sharp chin, a scar on her neck, and red eyes like a beast. Her gut was telling her, "Richard, the protagonist of this novel." "It's been a long time, Ansia," friendly he said. The girl was right. He is the second son of the emperor's brother, the Earl of Castle. The count's sons were chosen as the next heirs to the throne. Since the emperor's son himself is cursed and will not live long. But Richard himself had no right to the throne, for his mother was a slave. Driven by a lust for power, he will kill all his enemies one by one and become emperor. At the end of the novel, he uses Diana to relieve Blake of the weight of the curse. But the princess was not going to let that happen. Not the emperor's death or Blake's banishment. "What do you want?" she asked the boy coldly. He explained that since her marriage, there had been too much noise in the palace. He had heard that she had fired almost the entire staff. The girl realized that he himself had decided to check the situation, for among those fired were his spies. He continued to insist that she should not have acted so recklessly. All the servants were chosen personally by the emperor, and she had no right to fire them. The girl's insides were seething and bubbling. How dare he tell her what to do? They were all spies. But she restrained herself and continued the conversation with a sweet smile. She explained her action by the fact that she had her suspicions and could not trust them. "By firing them, you won't gain trust," the boy said slyly. "It's none of your business. If you have nothing to do, you'd better leave." The princess couldn't stand it anymore. "Are you offended because I turned you down?" suddenly Richard asked. She did not understand. What was he talking about? He went on. "You are in love with me. I am sorry I refused you." He was the child of the slaves, so he did, but if she wants it, he will accept it. "You know how I feel, don't you?" With a smirk he asked. "You pompous bastard," thought Ansia. She tried to calm down her anger and asked in a calm voice, "Are you disappointed? Does nobody love you?" Nathan was taken by surprise by this question. He didn't know what to answer. She continued, "Richard, you're awful. How can you say such a thing to a princess? Are you trying to insult the imperial family?" "Why are you so angry?" Richard wanted to calm her down and tried to take her hand. Suddenly the crown prince, who appeared out of nowhere, grabbed his arm violently. "She does not like you," he said to Richard in a threatening voice. The boy was taken aback by the surprise and began to make excuses that the prince had got it all wrong, and he and the lady were only acquaintances. "She's not a lady anymore," Blake said confidently. "She is a crown princess." No longer listening to his excuses, told him to get out. When Richard left, the prince took the princess by the hand and asked her not to look at the other men. But she wasn't going to. Blake was surprised to hear that she disliked Richard terribly and found him extremely nasty. "I like cute bunnies like you," she said, and saw how he melted after her words. "What kind of girls do you like?" Ansia suddenly asked. The prince did not hesitate for a moment and answered that they were like her. "I only want you," Blake said confidently and hugged her tenderly. "I love you too, Your Majesty." After a while, Ansi had tasted the bath water with her hand. The temperature was perfect. "Your Highness," she spoke to the prince, "from today I will wash you."
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah. Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.